DJ PK on vacation, back tomorrow. Mike Folta, Utah Mammoth radio voice, joins us once again. Mike, good morning.
DJ, good morning. I'm here at TD Garden in beautiful Boston, and I'm sitting at a bar here at the rink getting ready for morning skate. If you see me put this to my lips, it is canned water. It is not an alcoholic beverage. I don't want anybody thinking I'm getting after it this early, but I have a beautiful view of what I think is the Charles River, watching the oyster farmers haul in with their fresh catch of the day. And we're getting ready for a second game of a 3-game road trip here against the Boston Bruins. So all is well. Good to see that that PK is cashing in that PTO a little early here on getting ready for the holidays, huh?
Exactly. I think he did connect with a little bit of family and all that. So I think he's getting ahead of the holiday curve right there. Now, when you look out the window, are you looking at the bridge in Bunker Hill?
There are multiple bridges. I don't see any redcoats retreating, so
Okay.
I cannot confirm that it's Bunker Hill or not.
Neither confirm nor deny. That's worth the walk if you have time in the middle of the day.
I did do the Freedom Trail this summer, and I'm a big history guy, and it is very cool to walk around. You can see like the Old North Church and stuff, but I made the mistake of thinking that everything was going to be kind of condensed like in one area. And as I walked throughout the Freedom Trail, I soon realized that no, this is really spread out all across Boston and Charlestown. And I walked about 21,000 miles before lunch that day. So I was not a happy camper. And I was not wearing like walking clothes. I was in like khakis and like a dress shirt, and because I was there for a wedding, and it was 85% humidity. I just come from Utah where there's no humidity, and so I was not loving life.
Cooking yourself right there. That's what you were doing. You know who else is cooking right now? How about Dylan Guenther? How many OT game winners? What should the over-under be for the season for him? What do you think?
I mean, he's on pace for like 7 right now, probably. Just doing some quick Purdue math off the top. But he's got 3, and we're 30-something games into an 82-game schedule. He's got 3 game winners, and he had another one on Sunday afternoon against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And what was a crazy come-from-behind win for Utah in that game. And I tell you what, DJ, like when Guenther has the puck on his stick in those big moments, it feels like, it feels like Mahomes, or that's a bad example now, I guess, but like Tom Brady when he's got the ball with 2 minutes left to go win the game. And I'm not comparing Guenther to these Hall of Famers. I'm just saying it's that same feeling you get when he gets the puck on his stick in a big moment. You're thinking like, all right, this one's in the bag. You can call in the dogs, put out the fire. This one's over. Like Gunther's going to go win it right now. Dating back to last year, he has more game-winning goals than anybody else since the start of last year, and he's only 22 years old. So he has that clutch gene, and I think more than anything, he's the guy that wants the puck on his stick in those big moments.
In basketball, there's an expression, swing, swing. And so that's where you get the ball and defense is running at you, and what it means is 2 passes, you swing to the other side of the court, you're going to get a wide-open shot. And you can see fans have heard that so much that fans know it. And I'm curious because you said when Guenther has the puck on his stick, because I think he's at his best moments, whatever the hockey, and I don't know what the hockey lingo would be for swing, swing, but when they move the puck to the other side of the rink, and he's already, man, the arms are up, the stick is in the air, like I know what's going to happen, right? He's going to hit that thing as hard as he can, and he's probably going to put it on target, and just the only question is, reaction time for whoever's in goal. So,
yeah,
would you rather
you're talking
have it
about
on
the one-timer on the power play, right?
Well, the one-timer on the power play is a thing of beauty. So would you rather have it on his stick, or would you rather have the puck on the other side of the ice thinking, here it comes? Maybe he hasn't even cocked and loaded yet, but you know it's coming. Or is he more dangerous with the puck on his stick?
That one-timer has been so effective for him on the power play for Utah. And what we saw in November when Utah struggled on the power play was that teams had started to cheat towards him, and penalty kills had started to really focus on him, and that made it hard for Utah's power play to get going because he had like 3 guys in front of him when he's trying to unleash one of those slap shots. I think he leads the league. I believe he leads the league with 6 slap shot goals, which includes those one-timers that he's firing on the power play. So that's just one of the best shots in the league right now is a Dylan Guenther slap shot. But he's also made a concentrated effort this season to score in a variety of ways. And we've seen that, like him going to the net hard and using his underrated speed to create space as well. So I think it would be bad for us to discount the other ways that he can score outside of just that one timer that everybody thinks about with him. It's like that Ovechkin shot, right? As a right-handed shot on the left circle, shooting the one timer from there. But he scored a variety of ways this year. He scored on breakaways. He's able to change his release angle on the shot. I equate it to like a basketball player being able to shoot off platform or off balance and still connect. He can kind of do that too, where even when he's not in that full windup, if he's just shooting a wrist shot per se, he can change the angle at the last moment to fool goalies. And it's not always as much the speed with which he beats goalies on the shot, but a lot of times it's that angle that changes at the last second, which alters the geometry of the whole play for these goalies. 15 goals on the year for Gunner. He now leads the team in that category and is on pace for a career year.
When it's 3-0, are you breaking out stories figuring this is over, or are you sitting there thinking, Thurl Bailey, the TV analyst for the Jazz, has a phrase whenever you start talking to him about big game. He lets his voice break on purpose. Thurl has a super deep voice. If you ever hear him sing an anthem or something like that, it's unbelievable. But he'll go, "It could happen." It could happen, which is his way of saying, yeah, it could happen. It's not going to happen. Calm down, DJ. So were you thinking it could happen, or were you thinking, you never know?
We definitely thought it could happen because the day before for Pittsburgh, they had played the day before. They had played Saturday. Utah played them Sunday. The day before on Saturday, the Penguins had blown a 5-1 lead in the third period. And they had actually blown third period leads in 3 straight games coming into Sunday's game. And so we were thinking, like, we got a chance here. And up to that point through 2 periods, the Mammoth had been outplaying Pittsburgh, even though the goal, the scoreboard didn't reflect that. But the Mammoth have been getting way more shots, way more high danger chances. And so you felt pretty good about the team's game, even though they didn't have anything to show for it. And I told our producer, Will Trebshaw, on Hockey Day in Utah, I was like, all right, guys, if I'm going to start the third period like the comeback has started. And then if it gets better, if it doesn't get any better, or if it stays the same, if it stays 3-0, or if it gets worse, then, yeah, we'll start telling jokes. But we got that first goal just over a minute into the third period to start the comeback. And talking with Penguins personnel after the game, they were saying, "Oh yeah, once the Mammoth made it 3-1, we knew it was over. We knew the comeback was on." And so they had that inkling of doom. Whereas at 3-1, I wasn't quite like all the way in, but going off of past results for Pittsburgh, we knew that we had a chance.
They're doing all this without Cooley. Do you have any update on his timeline, how he's doing? I don't know if you get to interact with players who are rehabbing that much. What can you tell people?
Yeah, the team announced that he's going to be out for at least 8 weeks. And when that was announced, which was a week ago, that basically created this timeline of the Olympics for Cooley to potentially come back. And so we're expecting him to be out at least until that Olympic break, which starts in early February. And so when it was announced, those 8 weeks basically take you all the way up until the Olympic break. And then that Olympic break gives Cooley a little bit more cushion to rehab and come back. And it's a bummer for a lot of our training staff because the broadcasters during this 3-week Olympic break, like, I'm going to be in Mexico. I'm going to go home, relax, like, shut off the brain for a little bit. But we have a bunch of guys who are going to be practicing, rehabbing, things like that over the break. So our poor trainers and equipment staff, they are basically like on the clock during the break. So there's not really an off time for them. Those guys are the glue across the NHL that keeps everybody held together, the trainers and the equipment staff. So props to them, because they're going to be working with Cools during the break to try and get Utah's star back for that last push of the year. 25 games after the Olympic break. So as long as Utah is in the mix up until then in February, like, they'll have a chance to make the postseason.
The postseason race, I mean, there's a bunch of teams clumped together. There's so far to go. I don't know how much to read into that. I don't know if you want to read into that. If you think there's anybody in that group you think is destined to pull away, maybe somebody's in that group you think is destined, to drop to the bottom and won't stay in that group. And the other thing that's influencing this right now is the team is clearly so much better at home than they are on the road. And they played so many more road games than home games. So you factor those things in. Where do you think this race is going?
Well, I think the schedule definitely gets better for the Utah Mammoth after Christmas. Since the second week of November all the way up until Christmas, this team is in the middle of a stretch right now of 21 games in 37 days. So just quickly off the top, that's playing every other day with a bunch of back-to-backs thrown in. That's tough. And especially in Utah's division right now, which I think is fair to say is the group of death in the NHL. You've got Colorado, who's the best team in the league by far. You have a Dallas team that was one of the odds-on favorites to win the Cup at the start of the year and is still right there. Then you have Minnesota team that just traded for Quinn Hughes, who's one of the best defensemen in the world. Those are the three teams that are currently in front of Utah right now. And it would be really tough for the Mammoth to catch any one of those three, I think. But Utah is currently just outside of the playoff picture by like a tiebreaker. But they have the same amount of points as the teams that are inside those wild card spots. The Mammoth are where they need to be. And kind of our notion heading into this year was, like, just get through this tough part of the schedule up until Christmas. Just stay in the race, stay within striking distance through Christmas, because it's been a really tough schedule from November into December with all the road games that you mentioned. That's a huge factor. Mm-hmm. This schedule is going to get much more Mountain Blue friendly come March and April, when the team's going to be at home a bunch and there's going to be a bunch of Central Division games on the back half of the schedule, which will be opportunities for Utah to make hay in the standings. So this team is in a fine spot right now. It was not the November that anybody wanted, where Utah had the worst points percentage in the league. But the team already has as many wins here in the month of December as they had in November. Things are looking up. And even though you don't have Logan Cooley, this team has now strung together several performances where they're playing the way they need to, even if they're not getting the results. And this has always been a process-oriented group under head coach Andre Tourney. And that process is going to start swinging back in their favor once we get more home games and once the schedule opens up a little bit after the holidays.
Well, I like what you said about group of death, because with Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota, they have 3 of the top 4 point totals in the league, and they're all packed in the same division. So catching those 3 is a tall task, but all those other teams, whether it's Edmonton, San Jose, the LA Kings, whoever, all bunched up there, and someone will rise and someone will fall. We'll see what happens with that home road split, because this back to back here is road games 21 and 22, and they've only played 14 home games. So pretty lopsided there. The big moves, you mentioned one of the trade. There've been a couple big moves here, and actually we've had a general manager fired. Anything happen around the league that really catches your eye that you will think have an impact on the Mammoth? How does it everything comes back to the old joke. How does it affect me, Al Franken?
Well, it's hard not to start with the trade that the Minnesota Wild made to acquire Quinn Hughes from the Vancouver Canucks. Quinn Hughes is, I think, pretty safe to say the second best defenseman in the NHL behind Colorado's Cale Makar. And so now you essentially have the 3 best defensemen in the NHL, all in one division, all in Utah's division. Cale Makar of Colorado, Miro Heiskanen of the Dallas Stars, and now Quinn Hughes of Minnesota. So Bill Guerin, who's the general manager for the Minnesota Wild, is really pushing his chips towards the middle to try and vault Minnesota into championship contention. They've been a playoff team the last several years, but they haven't necessarily been in that upper crust of the Western Conference. And now adding a player like Quinn Hughes, that totally changes. Utah has been very good against Minnesota dating back to last year. The Mammoth have never lost to the Wild in regulation. They lost to them in a shootout once last year, but they beat them 4 out of the 5 times they played them, including a game this year when the Mammoth just boat raced Minnesota up in St. Paul. So you have to think that those figures have a chance at changing, with Minnesota getting a lot better on the back end. So that's going to make it tougher for Utah. And it kind of, I don't want to say it cements the Mammoth into a wild card spot, but it makes it really hard for Utah to get anything better than a wild card spot in the playoffs, just because they're already 8 points back of Minnesota as we wake up this morning. Minnesota just became a better team, and you would need either injuries or, a coach getting fired essentially for the Mammoth to take one of the top 3 spots in the Central Division. So those 3 teams are all going for it right now. The good news is that Utah has been really good against the best teams in the Central. They've beat Colorado this year, not many teams can say that in the NHL this season. They beat Colorado. They should have beat Dallas. They lost by 1 goal. They beat Winnipeg, was the President's Trophy winning team from a year ago. They've slipped a little bit right now. Hellebuck's injured, but Utah beat Winnipeg when Hellebuck was healthy. So that was one of the better wins of the year. And they've beat Minnesota. So of those 4 teams that are kind of at the top of the Central Division with Utah, the Mammoth have beat 3 of them, and the other one, Dallas, they lost by 1 goal. They should have won. So Utah is stacked up really well against the best teams in the Central. It's just a matter of doing that consistently and taking care of business against the other teams on your slate, and that means trying to pick up some more points on this road trip.
All right, well, Boston and Detroit back-to-back. You enjoy that. And if you have time, you don't want to be walking around town. If you have time, that 1-hour bus tour that loops you to all the sites where you can just sit and not break a sweat, ask for the driver, Vinny from the North End. I was on that, and Vinny from the North End, he's got patter, he's got jokes, he's got nonstop. So,
There's no way Vinny from the North End doesn't have a wicked Boston accent, too, I bet.
Wicked. One of his deals is that there's the Boston Commons, and there's basically a huge cemetery in the middle of downtown. So he pulls up and he points out Samuel Adams' grave, second president. And then he points over, no, that was John Adams, wrong Adams. But anyways, he points out Samuel Adams' grave, founding father. And then he points out this famous bar in Boston. He says, that's the one place where you can sit and you can drink a cold Sam Adams while you look out at a cold Sam Adams. That's the kind of stuff Vinny's just doing. And he's got something for every stop. He's got his patter. He's got his whole. At one point, I was sitting like 4 seats back, and I'm killing time on a road trip, right? I was like, bum, and he peeks at me. That was good. Do that again. he wanted to see
I am all in for bus tours. Sign me up for a bus tour any day of the week.
You got an hour to kill in the middle of the day for sure, right? After the skate, before the game. Got your homework done. Mike, we appreciate it as always. Enjoy the road trip. We'll see you back here in Utah.
All right, TDJ. And get PK back in. Come on.
Oh, yeah, he'll be back. He's back tomorrow. Mike Folta, Utah Mammoth radio voice, going back-to-back in Boston and Detroit. You'll hear both those games right here on The Zone. 5 o'clock tonight. Hockey night in Utah will start at 4 o'clock, which makes it hockey afternoon in Utah. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to take a break, talking more football, Kyle Whittingham's future, the poll questions wrapping up, and also the Utah Jazz. How distressed are you with the recent winning? Because there's a draft pick hanging in the balance. We'll get to that coming up. Stay with us.